Okay, good morning again, everybody, and thank you all very much for being here for the annual wreath-laying ceremony at the tomb of Samuel Huntington, one of our nation's founding fathers, signer of the Declaration of Independence, and by some accounts, as we all know, first president of the United States of America. My name is Bill Stanley. I'm William A. Stanley. My dad, William B. Stanley, also called Bill Stanley, undertook this noble initiative a number of years ago, arguing that as president of the Continental Congress, under the Articles of Confederation, that it was actually Samuel Huntington and not George Washington who actually led our young nation as its first president. As you might guess, Dad encountered some resistance to that assertion. But being a good Irish politician, he never saw a good fight he didn't want to jump into the middle of. You may know that the federal government conducts wreath-laying ceremonies at the tombs of all deceased U.S. presidents. Dad thought that if it was good enough for the popularly elected presidents of the United States, it would be good enough for our own Sam Huntington. Dad passed away 3.5 years ago at the age of 80, but those of us who were closest to him felt strongly about carrying out his tradition. And I particularly want to thank Patricia Williams and Denny Gibbs for all the hard work they've done toward keeping this great tradition alive. And we'll get to more introductions, but they have really been the driving force behind keeping this ceremony going, and I want to thank them both very much. Now, as tradition calls, we will begin this year's ceremony, as we have in past years, with the parade of colors presented by the Marine Corps League Color Guard and the Young Marine Color Guard. Now, would you all please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would now like to call on Reverend Greg Perry, President of the Norwich Clergy Association, for this morning's invocation. Reverend.
I invite us to assume the attitude of prayer. Our Creator, on this wonderful day, we remember Samuel Huntington, who, inspired by your Spirit, helped lay the foundation of this, our great nation. The principles of justice, freedom, and unity, the respect for our individual rights and our collective responsibilities, all that are symbolized in the flag that we love and enshrined in the Constitution we adore, remind us of the debt we owe this man of vision. We join his contemporaries in recognizing his contributions to the unified people that we are. They named him president in accord with the newly ratified Articles of Confederation, and by laying this wreath in remembrance of his birth, we reaffirm his place in the hallowed halls of our nation's history. May the essays that have been prepared and that will be read inspire hearts both young and old, so that together we might embrace and live up to the high standard of freedom, justice, and unity that are his legacy. And indeed, touched by the same Spirit that touched him, we know that that shall be. And in the way that we each know you, we invite your presence on this day. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Perry, and would like to thank you for your continued participation in this ceremony. Appreciate it very much. The next portion of our program is always among the most popular, and that is the music performed by Tom Callanan, a great friend of Dad's and a great friend of the Forgotten Founders, and a great friend to Connecticut history. Tom is the former state troubadour? He was the first state troubadour and the best. And we're honored and delighted to have him with us today. He's going to perform a couple of songs, and as you all know, this is interactive. You got to sing along. Tom Callanan.
Thank you, Bill. Well, good morning. It's great to be here on this nice, chilly fall day. Mayor Neister asked me if I would sing the song I wrote about Norwich's history. All of my songs are very wordy. I try to cut them down to ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, wada-wada, bing-bang, but something in me just won't let that happen. So this is one about the history of Norwich from 1659, when some of the people who are buried here were where you are, upright, above ground. And so we got this land in Norwich from, do you know who? From a tribe? Anybody had a clue? The Mohegans. Thank you, sir. Can you children say Mohegans? Ah, so now we all know. Okay, so we got this land from the Mohegans and in 1659, and this song celebrates many of the things that happened before and right up to the present. The chorus, if you'd like to sing along, goes, where three rivers come together. Who knows the name of the three rivers? What's one? Loud, I have old ears. Shetucket.
Yeah.
Yantic.
Yep.
And Thames. Thank you very much. Felt like I was at the dentist pulling teeth here today. Okay. So the chorus goes, where three rivers come together, Shetucket, Yantic, Thames, you'll find the Rose of New England. And what's the name of the city? Norwich is their name. Very good. And the chorus sounds like this. Let me just start with the verse first. Norwich was founded in 1659 by settlers from Old Saybrook, who numbered 69. Settlement was mainly around the pie-shaped green, and a wharf was made at Yantic Cove, where Mohegans oft had been. By 1694, the landing moved down by the Thames, where ships could be offloaded, and the cityscape had changed to east-west roads headed in and out of town. Washington Street and Broadway, from the port to Norwich town. Here's the chorus. Where three rivers come together, Shetucket, Yantic, Thames, you'll find the Rose of New England, and Norwich is her name. Jump in, it goes very quickly. Where three rivers come together, Shetucket, Yantic, Thames, you'll find the Rose of New England, and Norwich is her name. Ships that sailed from England brought the Norwich merchants goods, until the hated Stamp Act reduced the likelihood that imports would be desired, since ingenuity combined with raw materials made for self-sufficiency. And in the Revolution, Norwich sent its sons to fight the redcoats of the king with General Washington. The patriots who served are named upon the plaque by the gate to the ancient graveyard. Off the beaten track, here we go. Where three rivers come together, Shetucket, Yantic, Thames, you'll find the Rose of New England, and Norwich is her name. A century of prosperity was brought about by steam that was tempered by the Civil War, 2/3 in between. After that, Onema was the largest mill in all the land. Trains and boats were coming in and out, for some life sure was grand. Everyone from everywhere made her grow beyond compare, from armaments and silverware to whaling guns and Windsor chairs, the home of abolitionists and folks from many lands and hues. Norwich was multicultural before that term was used. Here we go. Where three rivers come together, Shit-tucking-yantic fame, you'll find the rose of New England, and Norwich is her name. The 20th century started fine, but halfway through decline. For some the sun had set, the rose was wilting on the vine. But its architecture showed, with treasures built to last, that hope should not be lost. Her best days hadn't passed. Today the rose is on the rise, attracting tourist eyes. Three rivers still converge there, and that's where she still lies. Bridging now with yesteryear, Mohegan Park is here today. Some will come just for a weekend, some like me decide to stay. Where three rivers come together, Shit-tucking-yantic fame, you'll find the rose of New England, and Norwich is her name. Once again, where three rivers come together, Shit-tucking-yantic fame, you'll find the rose of New England, and Norwich is her name. Thank you. Well, that's a mouthful. So now, if you know all that stuff, you'll be able to pass any test about Norwich. Okay, now this one is the one I wrote about Samuel Huntington, who is buried right over there, and the reason for this event today. And the chorus goes, well, a favorite son is someone who comes from an area and he or she gets, well, the favorite daughter, but back in those days, it was a favorite son who was nominated for offices. They didn't really expect them to be nominated for big office, but because the state would get behind them, they would nominate him as a favorite son. And it still happens now, favorite son candidates at conventions. Favorite daughters as well. And so this one has a chorus that goes, who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson? You heard of him? Guy on the nickel. Guy on the $2 bill. You seen a $2 bill? Who's ever seen a $2 bill? Okay, if you haven't, I have one in my pocket. I'll show you later. Okay, that's about all I have. $2, no cents. Okay. Thank you. Some know me. Who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson? He was born in 1731, and his name was Samuel Huntington. Thank you. I had a senior moment there. Who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson? He was born in 1731, and his name was Samuel Huntington. That's the chorus. Jump in anytime, like now. Who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson? He was born in 1731, and his name was Samuel Huntington. Raised as a farmer, he loved the land. Trained as a cooper, he learned how bands could bind loose staves to make them stand. And great things can come from a common man. His life reads like a storybook, from the Scotland farm on Merrick's Brook to serving the state in all he undertook. After studying the law and borrowed books, here we go. Who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson? He was born in 1731, and his name was Samuel Huntington. King's attorney for Connecticut, till ties with the crown had to be cut. Elected assemblyman in 64, joined the Safety Council as thoughts turned to war. A justice of the peace and elected assistant, one of the standing order. His rise was consistent, as if he had a master plan to be declared our country's Uncle Sam. Here we go. Who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson? He was born in 1731, and his name was Samuel Huntington. In 75, he was delegated to the Continental Congress, where history awaited, signed his Samuel on the Declaration, elected first president of the brand new nation. George, what's his name, called Sam president. Then in 84, back home he went to Connecticut for retirement. But that's not how Sam's remaining years were spent. Here we go. who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson. He was born in 1731, and his name was Samuel Huntington. In his last 12 years, though often sick, Chief Justice, Lieutenant Governor, and from 1786, elected governor 10 years in a row. That's a bit of history everyone should know. But fame is such a fickle game. One who did so much should be remembered by his name, not as Samuel who, his identity a mystery, but as our first president, a shining light of history. Now, who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson? He was born in 1731, and his name was Samuel Huntington. 2 centuries later, a trust been formed to restore the home where Sam was born. And if we are a grateful nation, we'll repay his service with our donation. For who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson? He was born in 1731, and his name was Samuel Huntington. Once again, who was Connecticut's favorite son in the days of Washington and Jefferson? He was born in 1731, and his name was Samuel Huntington. What's his name? His name was Samuel Huntington. What's his name? And his name was Samuel Huntington. Thank you. Well, that was great.
Thank you very much, Tom Callanan. And that's why I can say with confidence that he was not only the first state troubadour, but the best. Tom, that was great. Now, with all due respect to the teachers out in the audience, wouldn't it be more fun to learn history by way of music? I'm in trouble now. Before we get into the school's speaking program, I'd just like to acknowledge the folks who are sitting up here on the podium. Our city manager, Alan Bergeron. And I'd like to thank everybody from the city of Norwich through Alan who's been involved in preparing the grounds and the logistics and everything else that's come off so well, not only this year, Alan, but every year that we've had the ceremony here. Please extend our thanks to all the city employees and everyone else responsible. And the chairwoman of Norwich's Board of Education, Yvette Giacaruso. You've been introduced to Reverend Perry, and another great friend of Dad's, another great friend of the Forgotten Founders, and a great friend to all of the people of Eastern Connecticut, former Congressman Rob Simmons. Thanks for being here. And I believe it's every Wednesday morning, if you miss Rob in the media, now that he's not in Congress, he appears on the Lee Elsey program. And you can tune in on Wednesday mornings and hear his opinions on any number of subjects, all of which are correct.
Thank you, Bill.
We are pleasantly surprised today with the appearance of School Superintendent Abby Dolliver. Abby is also a longtime friend of the Forgotten Founders and of this ceremony, and we were saddened to hear initially that she wasn't going to be able to join us this year because she'd be serving jury duty. Well, somebody, a higher authority intervened. The jury was canceled, and so we're very happy to have Abby Dolliver here with us today. Thank you, Abby. We've acknowledged Patricia Williams, who is Secretary of the Founding Fathers and part of what makes this organization work behind the scenes. Patricia, thank you again. And of course, the former state troubadour and our great live entertainment every year, Mr. Tom Callanan. And last but certainly not least, the mayor of the great city of Norwich, a good friend of mine and a former classmate at Eastern Connecticut State University, Mayor Peter Nystrom. Peter, thank you for being here. I see over here in the corner Mr. Bill Champagne, who is president of the Norwich Historical Society. Bill, thank you for being here. And now, I'd like to introduce and call her up to the podium, Kate Abreu from the Norwich Public Schools. She is the director of Summer School Extended Learning Program, and she'll talk about some of the great work she's involved with in this capacity and some of the great work that the students of Norwich have been doing. Kate Abreu.
Good morning, everyone. This summer at the Bridges Summer Learning Center, for the third year in a row, our students have had the opportunity to work with the Forgotten Founders to write an essay. And this year's essay was about comparing and contrasting what colonial American children did with their time versus what our students do with our time. Out of the 200 students, we had 90 student essays entered, and we have 4 winners with us today. If the 4 winners would like to come up. Where are they? Come on. There we go, guys. I'm going to have them read their essays. Instead, one of our winners, Carolee Quimby, was unable to be with us today. So one of our students, Connor Owen, has graciously agreed to read her essay in her place. Quickly, in 4th place with our essay, we have Damien Ayuyu. He's going into grade 5 at Stanton Elementary School. In 3rd place, we have Ruin Lin. He's going into grade 5 at Mahan. In 2nd place, we had Carolee Quimby. She's going into grade 4 at the Independent Day Charter School. And Connor Owen, who's going into grade 5 at Uncas, will be reading for her. And in 1st place, we had Ariana Coons, who's going into grade 5 at Moriarty Elementary School. So, Damien, do you want to come up and read them?
Just move the microphone down. Do I need to read it?
Yeah, okay, I'll read it with you. Just read it.
When do I start?
Right now.
I'm afraid.
It's okay. You got it.
I spend my time washing dishes, playing video games, exercising outside, having fun, watching TV, and playing games on my iPod. Kids used to go outside every day. Go outside every day and get food from the garden. They need to go to the well to get water for daily food and for other things. The kids had to go get firewood, played kids, and acted out plays. Kids also had to sweep the house and water the plants. Today I need to clean up my bedroom and fix my bed. Today in colonial Americans are different because I don't need to go outside and get water from the well and bring it inside. I don't have a garden and do not get food from it. Sometimes I sweep my room, but most of the time I vacuum instead. Of having a garden, we go to the grocery store.
There we go. Thank you. Here you go. You want to just go stand right back next to it? Next up, we have Rulin, who's going into 5th grade at Mahan. He came in 3rd place.
In colonial American, kids would help their moms and dads do chores like cleaning the house and gardening. This is a lot different from my chores because my chores are to sweep and mop and wash the dishes and help my sister with her homework. It could be the same too though.
because sometimes I help my grandma and grandpa with the garden, and my mom and dad ask me to clean the house. We have a lot more free time than kids in colonial America. We have more free time because kids have to help their parents around the house and help them with the garden. Before, if your mom asked you to wash the dishes, you might have to go to a well or river to wash them. Now, if you have a dishwasher, all you do is stick them in there and wait, and then you're all done. Before, if your parents asked you to trim the grass, it would take a lot of time. Now you can just do it with a lawnmower. When I have free time, I might read a book, but before, kids might act out or play. There were a lot of ways chores and free time were different, but the same as they are now.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Carol Lee Quimby's essay read by Connor Owen.
In early America, children have many chores. They had boy chores and girl chores too. Boy chores rang for help dad with crops to hunt for meat. Girls' chores include chores for younger kids, varied from laundry and cooking to weeding the
And
finding
edible.
edible plants. There will both chores too. These include get chicken eggs, and they I am sure that they had to clean their bathrooms too. Compare that to what I do. You'd often find me reading, drawing, yelling at my brothers Kay and Cannon Quimby, or play on my iPod or computer. I don't have many chores compared to people living in the colonial times. Yay. I clean up
My dogs.
what?
Just say my dogs.
My dogs'
Accidents.
bringing shoes from the living room to the bedrooms, car, wash the car, give my cat his kitten
Kitty kibble.
kibble, give my cards, my dogs Brinks and Giacomo their water, help my mother with the dishes or dishwasher is broken. But that's about it. Kinds in the colonial times had an unbelievable amount of chores, that's for sure. For free time, how did kids entertain themselves? iPads, no. Xbox, no. Television, come on, no. They played tag and maybe had pillow fights. Girls swept and boys hunt. I can't watch TV, play my DS, computer, and iPod nowadays. I often draw, write, and read is fun too. Also,
Yep.
although I like that
Electronics.
electronics, I like drawing better. maybe we,
As in the world.
as in the world, should read it and sue for free time.
Thank you, Connor. And in first place, we have Ariana Coons, who's going to 5th grade at Moriarty. There we go.
During early America, kids spent their free time doing different types of activities. Girls would sew, write in their journals, cook, draw, and cross-stitch. Boys hunted, rode horses, and played tag, and took walks in the woods. I spent most of my time playing my DSi, Wii, Xbox, and watching TV. Kids in early America had many more chores than I do today. I have to clean my room, help my mom wash the sink, mop the floor, and kill all the spiders in the basement. In early America, boys and girls scared animals away from the garden, got the eggs from the kitchens, clean, cook, feed animals, carry gunpowder during war, get wood for the fire, grow and pick berries and fruit to sell, and sell food for money to purchase clothes and medicine for their families. It was certainly a difficult life. Meals were small and chores started early in the morning and ended late at night. Also, families had lots of children, so when there was free time, there was always brothers and sisters to bother you. People lived on farms in the middle of nowhere, and kids could not wear t-shirts and jeans. Girls had to wear dresses and boys wore shirts and slacks. Families had to eat whatever was hunted and made butter, cheese, and milk, and picked fruits and vegetables. Life was much different in colonial America than today.
Yay. All right. Thank you. All set.
We will give the prizes to them.
Okay. Great.
This is the first one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Patricia Williams, the secretary of the Forgotten Founders, is now giving prizes to the award winners. These prizes were donated by our friend Ada Johnson at Walmart, who's supported the program and contributed prizes every year. Ada couldn't be with us today, but Patricia's handing out the awards, and again, we're grateful to our friends at Walmart, and very grateful to these 4 great speakers today. Great job.
Oh, I'm going to give this to Carolee, who's in second place.
Oh, okay. The third one and the fourth one.
3rd and 4th are right here.
Okay. Congratulations. And congratulations. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Also the books.
Oh, great.
Did you just find the book? Okay. Thank you so much. They were beautiful.
All right.
Do you have one?
Yeah, I do. All right. Thank you. All right, guys, go ahead. Walk right up.
Let's hear it again for these great students. What a great job they did. You know, I heard most of what they said, but one remark that kind of jumped out was this young man here says he helps his sister with her homework. Great job. I never did that when I was your age. Okay, and now the reason we're all here. We will ask the color guard to please lead the wreath laying party. I would like to call at this time on Colonel Rob Simmons, School Superintendent Abby Dolliver, and Mayor Peter Nystrom to please carry the wreath to the tomb of Samuel Huntington. They will be led by the color guard. No, in thanking everyone who's been instrumental in keeping this great tradition alive, I omitted someone important who has also been instrumental, and that is our friends from the news media who are here. There are reporters and photographers here from the Norwich Bulletin and the Day, and without their support and without their coverage and their continued interest in this program, it wouldn't be possible and we wouldn't be able to keep doing it. So a big round of applause for our friends at the news media. Thanks for being here, folks. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that concludes our speaking program for this year. Thank you all very much for being here. Keep history alive. Keep learning about history. That was Dad's top priority, for the children and future generations of Norwich to be familiar with Norwich's robust history. And you won't regret it as you get older. There's so much to learn, and it's all interesting stuff. Thank you all very much. Oh, thank you very much. This is great. Good luck with your interview.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Rob. Really appreciate you being here.
Really great.
All right, well, today was the annual wreath-laying ceremony that my dad initiated. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it came after he and my mom and a group of other folks that they enlisted from in and around Norwich contributed resources and sweat equity and turned what was a crumbling gravesite of Samuel Huntington and his wife into what you see today. And it's been beautifully restored and beautifully maintained by the city of Norwich. And he was disappointed that such an important part of local history had been allowed to deteriorate so much, and was really gratified before he passed away 3.5 years ago that people had come together. People in private life, people in the city of Norwich and in the public domain came together and restored this and took great pride in it and have done such a great job preserving it. And so, as you may know, Dad was a believer that under the Articles of Confederation, and with Samuel Huntington serving as President of the Continental Congress during the Articles of Confederation, that technically, by law, that made him, not George Washington, the first President of our United States. And so, as the federal government does on the birthdays of deceased presidents, he thought that it was only fitting that on or around the birth date of Samuel Huntington that we also have a wreath-laying ceremony, and so we have every year since the restoration of the gravesite here. It's a great tradition. It incorporates people of all generations. You see people here who are in their 80s, and then you see the gathering each year of school children who have written essays and are learning about not only American history, but about local history too, which he thought was so important.